In three, two, one. Back at it here on the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. So glad to have you along wherever you get your podcast. I know you missed us after
Yeah,
a little bit of time away, but we've needed some time to recoup, regenerate. We're back. I read a depressing article um, prior to the show,
really
Isaiah. Well, it's not depressing for some people. Depressing
depressing.
for me.
That's sad.
There's 3,028 billionaires in the world, and I'm not one of them. So
Oh, that
uh,
is unfortunate.
the Forbes
Me
list of
neither.
billionaires just was released. So I was just
Oh,
like,
well,
oh, okay, cool. Let's see. It was an interesting article. Like, I guess in 2000 there was like only 13 billionaires, and now 25 years later there's 3,028 billionaires. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
that's
interesting. I'm not on that list
I'm
yet,
not, I'm
but
not, I'm not on that list either. That's
well.
no, I didn't have a sad thing. Now I am kind of sad. Then
Well,
I
I
didn't.
mean, if here's the upside of this, if there's any billionaires out there listening to this podcast
Yes,
and
yes.
want to be a sponsor, I mean,
Mm,
we'll make you,
yeah,
we'll rename the show.
yeah,
Like,
we Alaska Sports Talk.
yeah,
Bob,
whatever.
Bob Barker.
Yeah, I don't care.
Price is
Yeah,
right. Price is right. Alaska Sports Talk.
everything
Something.
can be bought for a price on this podcast. I'm telling you, we will put banners up in the background.
Yeah,
We
I will
will.
make a banner.
I don't know. We can come up with a catchy jingle for you,
Yeah,
like anything. So, but even if you're not a multi-billionaire or billionaire, you
you can do
can
that too.
support us by liking and subscribing
Yeah,
to the podcast
that is
wherever you get
important.
it.
We do
That is
need that.
important.
We do need
Uh,
that.
yeah. Well, and there was a lot of likes and subscribes during March Madness,
Yes,
and it was a
yes,
very,
there
very
was.
popular time for our listeners. So hopefully you enjoyed those podcasts in which we got a chance to catch up with some players and coaches
Yep.
and get some insight into things going on in March Madness and catching up with champion coaches and things like that from 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A. And if you missed any of those episodes and kind of those round table discussions, you can go to uh, wherever you get your podcast, and you can go back in time and re-listen to those episodes and get caught up in all that information.
Mhm.
Some great interviews, yet again, with all the coaches. So, highly encourage you to do that. Speaking of March Madness, this is our transition year, or a year. I say transition time of year, I
Yep.
guess.
Yep.
Uh,
Very much so.
we're getting into the track and field season. We're getting to high school baseball, softball, soccer. This is the wind down of kind of our Alaska or Anchorage Wolverines season. They
Yep.
have their last few games coming up before they go into the playoffs. So we're kind of transitioning gears a little bit, but we'll recap everything from March Madness, just a little bit high level overview, that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about the Anchorage Wolverines coming up. Maybe touch on the Alaska Anchorage Seawolves women's basketball team. We didn't really spend too much time on that during the March Madness Alaska uh, podcast episodes, just because everything that was going on. But kind of recap what happened with them in the NCAA tournament, and a whole bunch of other behind the scenes type stuff. Isaiah, I know that March Madness, it's an awesome time of year. We
It
love it,
is. It is.
but I'm so
Absolutely.
glad. I don't know if you feel this way, but after those 2 weeks, like, I need a day,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
days
Yeah.
after everything that goes on. Because
100%.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize sometimes many of the others, uh, NFHS Network crew, they're there from 8 a.m.
Yep.
until sometimes 10:30, 11 p.m. at night.
Yep.
Like, they're long, and that's, I mean, Wednesday through Saturday. Like, so
Hmm.
it takes a toll on you. I
It
mean, but
it absolutely does. There's a
it
lot of staff members. Well, the ASAA staff, some others that we have that help us do certain things, like a kind of court manager type things, helping with locker rooms, those things. Those people are there all day. They're there
yeah,
early. NFHS crew like yourself, you guys are there most of the whole day. Sometimes people are able to leave because they got other stuff going on, but predominantly it is 8, 7:30, 7:30 till 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, sometimes even
yeah,
11 on some of those other nights. You definitely need, I know I need, that Sunday. I don't think I don't have a step counter on my watch or anything like that. I don't have the 10,000 step thing. I need to do that. But yeah, I couldn't have logged more than 250, 300 steps on Sunday. I mean, it was watch
Get up, go to the
basketball,
fridge.
watch college basketball for a while, fall asleep, then wake up. Oh, there's still more games on.
Oh,
Awesome.
well, look at
Finish
that. Yeah,
watching, kind of fall asleep again. That was pretty much the pattern on Sunday, and Monday it was basically getting everything out of the Alaska Airlines Center. It takes a day to move everything in, and it takes a
it
whole
does.
day to get everything out. So yeah, putting everything back. It's definitely it's a great time of year, but at the same time, it is nice when it's finally over.
It's a lot of basketball. How many games over the
Uh,
span of the 2 weeks? I
it's a
can't recall.
118 games total.
Okay,
So
118 games.
it's
That's
74 games during 1A, 2A,
yeah,
and it is 44 games during 3A, 4A.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's a lot
I
of
mean, I feel
games.
like you're packing. If you broke it down even more than that, I mean, I feel like in the span of 3 to 4 days, it almost feels like you're packing in a fourth of a basketball season. I mean, just as many games that are there in one day, right? I mean, you
Oh
start
yeah.
thinking about, I mean, if you play
Well,
24 games in a season,
well
right? I mean, you're playing 8 games a day,
on
right?
Thursday, I can tell you on Thursday, that's our biggest day as far as number of courts and games. It's three
Yeah,
courts, 8 games apiece, 24 games. That's one whole season right there on Thursday during 1A,
yeah,
2A.
that's insane.
Yeah,
That's insane.
it's pretty
Well,
wild.
the other thing that's wild is the numbers that you were telling me throughout the tournament in terms of
Yeah,
attendance and
yeah.
things like. I don't know if you got final numbers as of now after everything's kind of wrapped up,
I
but
have
they were some record numbers, I thought.
yeah, we have some record numbers, there's no doubt. I have some preliminaries. They're not official, but I do have some preliminary ones, and it is staggering. Saturday, the 22nd, so the 3A 4A championship day was our biggest day ever for any ASAA event
Ever,
ever. We
even at the
had
Sullivan.
even at the Sullivan.
Wow.
Sul-
Okay.
the Sullivan is a great facility, but the numbers that we get now, I can tell you the last few years at the Sullivan were really they had good numbers, but we're blowing those out of the water right now.
Wow. Okay. All right.
What we had on Saturday was 7,114 scans, which is about 500, 600 more than we've ever had.
Wow.
So Saturday was a huge day,
And that's
huge
just
day.
people with the ticket in their hand, right? I
Right.
mean, that's not including people that have passes
Yeah,
to get in and work and do all that kind of stuff.
that's not passes for people to get in, that kind of stuff. When you add some of those things in, like the 3A, 4A passes, for players and coaches, you're talking, and just general passes like the little ASAA statewide passes that get into games and the gold lifetime or the Hall
Right.
of Fame. We're looking at easy over 7,600 on Saturday.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, even the biggest football game that I've run has had just over 6,000 people. And that was an outside event. So that was some record stuff. Or the first day of 1A, 2A tournament when it was just the 1As, that was a record. That was at 3,800, just over 3,800. So we had some record size crowds for sure. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
that's awesome. No, that's great. It's fantastic to hear. And you could definitely tell that they were record size. There's a lot of people there all weekend long. And so it's a credit to you guys, the fans out there that, coming out supporting the teams and
And I would
watching those
be, and
games.
well, and Keaton, and you're a huge part of this because you're one of the announcers on the NFHS network. You're obviously one of the best ones we've got. And I got the numbers for that. We
Oh,
had
really?
we had live views we had over all of March Madness. We had 119,011.
Get out of here.
Dead
Live
serious
views?
live views.
So that
Well,
that that encompasses the
that's the
entire the
entire
entire
turn.
okay.
That's the
Okay.
entire tournament. 1A, 2A, and 3A, 4A, and
Wow. That's
cheerleading.
huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And the selection show,
Yeah.
I was
Don't even.
worried. I was worried. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little worried
Oh,
because the selection show and our computer
that was
meltdowns and the graphic issues we had because the computer's melting down and that just really kind of sticks in my craw still a little bit. Not gonna lie. That was the most views we've ever had for the selection show ever. We were at
really
we were at 5,300 live views.
okay.
Now, with that, that doesn't sound like it's this massive number, but with the selection show and what the NFHS network does and some of the multipliers, because we got those pictures that there's lots of viewing parties and things like that.
Yeah,
You use a force multiplier now to that number, and we were anywhere from 35 to 40,000 people watching that.
that's
So
crazy.
so
I think
our numbers for March Madness just streaming on the network too, watching and listening to the games was massive.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's awesome
it
to
was
hear.
massive.
That's awesome to know. I think what started happening with the selection show, people started like tuning
Yeah,
in, like,
the hearing
what's going on?
hearing
Look at this
what's happening.
disaster. Oh my gosh. And they
Yeah.
text your friends, hey, turn it on, turn it on. Look at these guys. Look at
Look
these
at
idiots.
what is this guy doing? He thinks he's playing commercials and he's just walking around. Everyone can see. Yeah.
Oh
That's why we
man.
finally had to say, hey, the computer is
Yeah.
gonna burn up.
It's gonna literally melt.
And
It's melting.
I can report for all of those that were laughing, that computer is sitting on this table right over here and is totally dead. Can't do anything with it. Won't turn
Smoked.
on, won't charge, nothing. It is done.
Nice.
It is a paperweight
I
at
love
this
it. I
point.
love
Yeah.
it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it ran its
Hey,
course.
it,
So
it
it's time.
it got us through the selection show. The
It did.
highest
Just
viewed
barely.
selection show ever. Just barely. No graphics, none of the cool stuff we had built, but hey,
It
we
made
got
it.
it through. We made it.
Oh man. Well, it's always a fun time. The selection show, the entire 2 weeks, ASAA March Madness Alaska. It's always a great time. Kind of recapping the championship games in terms of 1A, 2A specifically. 1A boys basketball this year, the state champion, the number one seed, Shaktoolik Wolverines taking down Cook
Yeah.
Inlet Academy, 76-55 in boys basketball. So Shaktoolik winning this year's state championship game. I don't even think Shaktoolik did they get. I don't think they made it past the second round last year. So
Not the
um,
boy,
the
not the
boys,
boys.
not
I
the
don't think
boys.
so. No.
No, the boys. So they bounced back with an impressive performance this year to take the state championship in boys 1A basketball. Girls 1A basketball. It's the other one seed, the Fort Yukon Eagles. They took down Shaktoolik. On the girls' side of things, as Fort Yukon won 37-33 to capture the girls' 1A title. 2A boys basketball, man, this was an exciting game.
It was.
Uh,
It was
went
absolutely
back and
thrilling.
forth, fantastic. The Unalakleet Wolfpack winning the 2A boys state title over Cordova, 40-36, a back and forth battle, and Unalakleet able to pull off some, you know, awesome stuff in the fourth quarter. Isaac Smith had
Yep.
some huge shots for him down the stretch and came up clutch. And congratulations to Thurman Jackie and the Unalakleet Wolfpack winning this year's 2A boys state basketball title, 2A girls state basketball championship. Well, this was another, kind of, it started off a little bit slow, but picked up some space or some speed in the second half, and Seward ended up pulling away in the girls 2A state championship, winning 51-29, and Seward picking up their first state title. I think since, oh
Was it
man, I'm trying to remember.
97 or 98, I think.
It was a while. I
One
can't
of those,
remember.
pretty sure it's one of those two,
I think it was
97 or
98.
98.
I think it
I think
was
it's
98.
I think you're right, 98.
Yeah, because I remember in the post game, head coach Curtis Berry mentioning something about the banner, back in 98 hanging up in the gym and the team always staring at it and, kind of having that in the back of their memory. So they get the chance to hang up another girls 2A state championship banner in the gym down there in Seward as they won again against Glen Allen 51 to 29. So 1A and 2A basketball, always an exciting time. Uh,
It
it's just
is.
unique. It's so unique with 1A and 2A, just the amount of, because with 3A and 4A, a majority of everything is quote unquote on the road system. And it's schools
Right.
that you get to see almost every day, kind of, sort of. Uh, and fans can travel to games a lot better. Fans during the state tournament for 1A and 2A,
Eh,
I mean, there's probably entire almost villages that clear out.
I
Uh,
can tell you that that does actually happen. There's a few people to leave lights on and kind of babysit the town while everybody's down at state. I know that
right.
happens. Yeah.
Well, I feel like right after so Nome, right? In the 3A thing, in the 3A boys uh state title game, I feel like the entire town of Nome was there. I mean, the
Probably.
the Iditarod had just finished, and then like, okay, now we get to go to state basketball, and they get to go watch Nome win for the second year in a row as Nome defeated Sitka 62-43. But I don't know if I heard a louder gym than the Nome Belts Nanooks fans. Like it was crazy loud
It was
the
crazy
entire game.
loud. I agree with you.
Crazy, crazy loud.
100%.
That game against Sitka, by the way, huge props to Sitka and the Wolves in the season that they had. Um, you know, they were. I don't know if many people expected them in this second year with a new head coach um, to get as far as they did and make it to the state title game. And they gave Nome a run for their money in the first half. They
They
really
did.
did.
They really did. And I still think, after all the games are completed and watching everything, I still think the most enjoyable game that I watched. Now, in fairness, I will say, I'll qualify this. In fairness, I don't get to sit down and actually watch a lot of games from start to end and all that because I'm usually doing
Right.
a hundred other different things. But
Yeah.
that Sitka Mount Edgecombe semifinal, I think, was the most fun and most exciting game I watched in the whole tournament. That game was
Yeah.
incredible. It was incredible. The pace, the athleticism, what Sitka, and they both know each other really well, and just what they were doing, the high level of play. That was an incredible basketball game.
Some of the best basketball games, I agree with you, were the semifinal
Oh,
matchups
yeah.
to get to the state championship
Yep.
games across all classifications. I mean, overtime games.
Yep.
I feel like there was more overtime games in the semifinals this year than I can recall in recent memory. It was crazy.
I think you're right. I think you're
Like
right.
that's
We
just me throwing something out there off the top of my head, but it just felt like that with the number of games that went to OT.
With the
Uh,
number of semifinal OTs, we sometimes get OTs in the consolations or even the
right.
first rounds, but
Yeah, yeah.
in the semifinals and championships, especially the semifinals this year, because uh, none of the championship game went to overtime, but the semifinals, I think. Oh, excuse me, I think you might be right because there were a lot.
Well, I know that I myself, over the course of those 2 weeks, I think I had three games that went to overtime total. And I know two of which were semifinal games. So I'm trying to pull up. I don't think I have anything to
Yeah,
break it down by
I don't
quarter
think
to
it
say it went to
says.
overtime, unless I got into the stats, and I'm not going to
Well,
pull up the
yeah,
stats right now.
you'd have to go into all the stats.
Yeah. So I'm not worried but I know for a fact, like, there had to be at least 3 to 4 games in the semifinals across all classifications that ended up going to overtime.
Well, because there was a two in the 2A, or one of the 2A boys semifinals went into overtime.
Right.
That was Unicolete Seward went to
Right.
overtime.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and
And then
I think one of the girls' games for
did as
semifinals for
well.
1A went into overtime as well.
Yeah.
I think
No,
that
because
I think
I
you're right.
remember
I think you're
I remember
probably
watching
right.
that across the net or the screen that divides the two courts. Then at the time that yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it just felt like it, which is kind of interesting. But it set up for the semifinals were fantastic.
Oh, they
Championship
were
games
awesome.
were great too. 3A girls basketball state champion, by the way, the Grace Christian Grizzlies. Very impressive 62-41 victory over the Barrow Whalers as Grace Christian going back to back to back
Hmm.
uh, 3 years in a row. And Christina Park winning her first title there as the head coach with the Grace Christian Grizzlies. And, Sophie Linford, impressive.
I
I don't know if there's anybody
oh,
else that you really want to mention. I mean, obviously, there's other players on the
there's
team that are
other.
fantastic, but she carries the team. I mean, she's the heart
She
and soul of that.
is she is MJ Vanderhorst for Grace. She's a junior. She's going to be a problem for teams next year. She's incredible, but I think watching the 3A, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Keaton, but I was thinking the other day. Honestly, I was thinking about this yesterday because somebody was emailing me for some numbers and stuff. I think this year might be the most players we've had that have signed at colleges that I can remember since I've been doing this. I think that's with the most players we've had that have already signed at Division One or Division Two colleges. Because
Well,
you got Sophie, you have Haley, you have
Miley Anderson,
Miley, you have Layla Hayes, you've got Morgan from Mountain City, you have and so that's the girls. Then you have Hadukovic at UAF, Finn at UAF. You've got or not
Jet
Hadukovic at
McCullough,
Hadukovic at UAA. Excuse me. Um, uh,
Jet McCullough going to UAF.
UAF. Eric Stockhausen UAF. Jet McCullough UAF, and then you had uh, um, Finn Gregg
Yeah.
UAF. I mean, I think it might be the most players, and again, I know this isn't it isn't a Division One, and she was injured since January, but Ella Berger signed at Dordt University. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was the most players we've ever
You might be
had
right.
signed to colleges at the time. And
It's highly it's certainly possible. I'd be curious to know the numbers. I mean, if you go back into the early 90s,
right,
when you
right,
have like the Langdons and the Boozers and
right.
those types, I'd just be curious. Obviously, we know those were big names, and there's a whole bunch of other fantastic players as well. Um,
But
and we
just
don't know the other players that signed at smaller schools. Those sometimes don't get
and
publicized for a
exactly,
while.
exactly.
So,
And
I mean, yeah,
the only reason Grace does a good job of promoting stuff for their players signing and things, and Ella's
right,
going to the college that I used to
totally,
go to, so I knew that. But you're absolutely right. But when I think of just the number of players, I think it
right.
might be the most. And I have to say, I think Miley's in fantastic. I think Layla Hayes is going to do some great things at Iowa. I know she's going to work on some stuff, especially free throw shooting. I'm not worried about that. She'll get better at that. My guess is she'll probably, like most Division Ones, those freshmen red shirt a year, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But I think the best basketball player I saw this week that during March Madness on the girls' side was Sophie. She's just
yeah,
unbelievable. She is absolutely unbelievable. You score 35 points in the championship game and everyone knows that you're going to be getting the ball.
totally.
She scored the first 4 points on hey, off the tip, boom, layup. Then another steal right at the top of the key, layup. I
Yeah,
mean, she's just a different player. She's just a different
totally.
player.
Yeah.
There's a couple times I leaned over to Norm, who was doing the announcing, who I sit right next to during those championship games. I just looked at him and I'm just like, she's just different. She's just different than everybody else out there. No slight to anybody else because Barrow has some great players and some young players. They're going to be a problem moving forward for some teams, no doubt.
Right. Yeah.
But she's just different. I mean, and Hallie's really good, and I mean there's the girls players especially because there's so many that we've seen over the last few years, and now they're seniors this year, and now these teams are going to be kind of rebooting and things.
Right.
It's just, I she was incredible. She really was. It was hard. It was really something to watch.
Well, and if you subscribe to the NFHS Network, you can go back and relive.
You can go back and watch them. I'm telling you,
Those-
you go back and watch you go back and watch that the Grace Barrow championship game, and you'll if you didn't see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. She's just
Yeah.
different. She's just different.
So Grace Christian winning their third consecutive state championship at the 3A girls basketball level. So congratulations to the Grace Christian Grizzlies winning that state title this year. 4A girls basketball, fantastic matchup yet
Oh yeah.
again.
Oh
Second season in a row in which Colony and Wasilla tangled in the state championship game. If you remember a year ago, it was Wasilla in a close one, winning 35-32. Well, they meet again this season in the state title game, Colony and Wasilla, and this time it's the Knights with the upper hand, a 3-point victory, 44-41. So the third different girls 4A state champion over the last 3 years. A couple of
yep.
years ago, it was Mountain City that won it, then Wasilla, and now this year, the Colony Knights winning the state championship this year. Uh, it was it was an interesting game to watch in the girls 4A. The way that it started out, and it looked like Wasilla was going to kind of pull away. It was a double-digit lead. I remember
Yeah. It was
marking this
five.
down.
It started or it was at the end of the first. It was 5-12.
Yeah,
The end
right.
of the first, it was 5-12. It's crazy.
And at the 5:11 mark of the second quarter, I think it was an 11-point lead for Wasilla, and Tom Berg calls a timeout, and something just I asked him this in the post game, you know, post game wrap up on the NFHS Network, and then also on the podcast later that night as well. What changed? What happened? What? Like you guys were completely different after that timeout, and it's just like, all right, bucket, bucket, defensive stop, bucket, bucket, like, and he just flat out said, "Hey, we're not making shots. These shots are going to end up starting to fall, and when we do, let's have our defense, continue to play the way that we know that we can and know that we can get stops." And that's all that happened. And he's just like, all that happened, I didn't say anything inspiring, rah rah. It was like, just these buckets are going to end up falling, guys. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened. And Colony started able to get buckets to fall, got things to go their way. It did get hairy down the stretch.
Yeah, just gotta.
Watched.
It was what, an 11-point lead, and then all of a sudden it was a 1-point lead.
I think it was either a 7 or 9 point lead with 57 seconds to go. It was a
Yeah,
three possession game. It
it's
was a
three
three possession
possessions.
game with
Yep,
57
three possessions.
seconds to go, and we almost saw the most epic collapse in
Yeah,
high school basketball history. But
yeah. I would have hated to say that,
Wasilla
but
had a chance to actually take the lead.
I know
Put it
that was
that way.
great.
And they missed a bucket, and they missed a couple of free throws to tie it at the end there. But yeah, had a chance. Miley Anderson actually had a chance to tie the game and try to get it to overtime, but her 3-point attempt came up short. But the Colony Knights winning their first state title in girls basketball since 2008. So congratulations to Tom
And
Berg and
and how about
the Colony
Carpo?
Knights. Yeah,
Carpo
Tony
just, I
Carpo
mean,
was
just stepping up. I mean, 20 points.
huge.
She was 3 for 4 in threes.
Yep,
I mean,
came up clutch.
she was clutch.
Had some huge buckets for him. So the Knights get revenge against Wasilla in the girls 4A championship to win that state title. Boys 4A, well, same song, new verse, I guess you could say, for
Pretty much.
boys 4A, as the Betty Davis East Anchorage Thunderbirds win their third consecutive 4A boys state title. They now have won 4 of the last 5 state
Yeah,
basketball championships at the 4A level. So they have a stranglehold as of right now on 4A
pretty
basketball
much.
here in the state of Alaska, at least in terms of state titles. This year's state championship team completely different from the last
Oh,
two and even
yeah.
3-4 years ago, as well in terms of getting it done. And Chuck Martin has a fantastic interview. If you missed that, him and Tom Berg sat down with myself and Brad Lowers after the championship games to kind of recap things. So you can go back and listen
Those are
to
those are
those
great.
interviews.
Those were great interviews. You guys did a nice job with that. That was some really good information.
I appreciate it.
And
It was
just
fun.
listening to mean, because that was, you know, 3 hours or 2.5 hours after Tom had won, and
Yeah,
45 minutes from when Chuck won. I mean, it's
right.
great stuff. It was good
It was
stuff.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I think in that interview, I think what was it? Coach Martin, he was going down to the Final Four. I
Yep. He's
think
going down to the Final Four, and Berg was going down to, I think it was
Hawaii.
Hawaii or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
cool story, by the way.
That was
I'm
a
not going to
great
give it all
story.
away. I was like,
No, that
that's
was a
awesome.
great story.
Well deserved. So
Yeah.
if you missed out on that, uh, go back, listen, check it out because it was a very cool story of what they were going to do after, everything kind of settled and stuff like that. So go back and check that out. But basketball's in the books. High school basketball is finished. It's wrapped up. Another fantastic year. It's going to look maybe perhaps a little bit different next year, Isaiah, with things that are coming up for 4A
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah. I
I
think
know the
it's,
shot clock is being discussed and proposed and supposed to be
well,
implemented, but
right now it
we'll
is,
see.
right now it's been approved. I know there was a meeting today. I had to go pick up my daughter from school, so I couldn't make this meeting. Um, we're going to talk a little bit more on it on Thursday with the coaches committee meeting that we have after every season. But right now, it's, what are the rules for it basically? Is it going to be 35 if you get an offensive rebound? Does it go to 20 or do you just go 35? Those are some of the things that are being discussed right now. Now, the board, as easy as they approved it, now, according to how the board operates and things like that, somebody that have voted in the affirmative, so I think everybody voted for it. I think there was one region that might not have, but I think everybody voted for it. So any of the regions can call the question back and say, hey, we want to put this off for another year, or we're worried about costs, or et cetera, which I
Right.
wouldn't surprise me if a couple school districts want to do that. It wouldn't shock me. But as of right now, it's moving forward. And it's interesting that you say that, because watching games last couple weeks, I was watching, especially at the end of those games, there's a few
Yeah.
times at the end of the halves, and especially at the end of games, and some of those that were really close at the 4A level, that the shot clock definitely would have had an effect.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. I mean, I can recount a possession. Oh, I think it was a 4A game, and the possession lasted over a minute
Yep.
between shots, offensive rebounds, ball getting knocked out of bounds off the opposing team. And they had a possession that lasted over a minute. And I was like, what in the world? This is wild. Like,
And that's and
but
that's
that
pretty
happens.
and that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I mean, if you get offensive rebounds, I mean,
Yeah, it's
hey,
different.
that's
Yeah.
different. But there were a couple times where, the team was trying to hold it and the other team was content letting them kind of hold it for a little
Right.
while. I think of the Monroe, I think it was the Monroe semifinal game. That happened a couple times. You're just like, okay, I know next year that's going to change some of the end of these games
It
where
is.
you're not going to be able to do some of those things, and you're going to have to
Right.
go, are you going to go 2 for 1s, those type of stuff.
Yep.
You think about the Colony Wasilla girls game. you
Yeah.
know that's, I don't know if it would have really changed that one that much, just because of the way that that game was going anyway.
Yeah.
um but
I think maybe the strategy down the end for Wasilla may have been a little bit different in terms of how
may have
aggressive they
changed
would have
a
been.
may have
But
changed a little, because but at the same time, if the rule next year is if you get an offensive rebound, that clock goes back to 35.
yeah, that's yeah.
Now you're
Instead
worried
of
about,
resetting to 20 or whatever, you're right. Right.
exactly. Now if there's no possession and the ball goes out of bounds, I mean, I don't think the shot clock should be reset. But those are some of the things that were talked about today in that meeting. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what some of the coaches think on Thursday, and then the board meeting at the end of this. Well, it's really ends up the way the calendar is. It's the first few days in May. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
It will be. It will be because me personally, I don't think it's going to get implemented. This is my own opinion. I know it got passed. I know it got approved. But with everything that is going around in terms of budgeting and trying to get things balanced and things like that,
Yeah,
especially within the Anchorage School District. All right, not
yeah,
saying that Matsu Valley and
Oh, they're all
Fairbanks
kind of
School District, you
they're all kind of
know,
facing that stuff.
right. I just have a hard time thinking that with a straight face that ASD can say, "Hey, we're in a budget deficit of $111 million. Let's spend money to put shot clocks in all eight of our high schools, right? Pay people to operate them and run them, right?" And I'm just like, to me, it's gonna be a bad look. That's my opinion. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I'm not one way, I'm not for or against it, but uh, I just have a hard time thinking that after everything that has gone through, that this is going to end up
And
actually going in this next season.
reading the tea leaves, it wouldn't surprise me if the question is called back. Now, again, to your point, I know that there's other school districts that are facing deficits, none that are as large as ASD's, but that's ASD's the biggest school district in the state. So obviously there's correlations there. But I'll be curious how that all just kind of lays out. I think the April board meeting could be interesting because I don't think that will be the only thing that's
No,
discussed.
okay, no, of course not.
Because I know that there's been other things that have been discussed is how do we make things cheaper for schools? And some of
Yeah,
those have been like soccer doesn't have it, and I don't think most of the baseball doesn't have it except for the CIC because they're all right here in Anchorage. Is they got rid of conference tournaments,
right.
you know?
That's definitely
So
no.
I could see some of that kind of stuff possibly going away. It'll be very interesting to hear and see exactly what's going to go on with hockey. You know, I've heard some of these kind of song and dances before with various sports. I think this is probably the most serious it's been in my 14, 15 years working at
Right.
ASAA. So I don't know what's going to happen with Division 1 hockey at this point. You know, if all 8 ASD teams go out, Division 1 looks pretty I think it's 4 teams total.
Yeah. So
I think
it's
that
going to
ends
put a
up
hurt on things,
well, it's going to put a hurt on things. It's you're supposed to be in the Sullivan next year. Is that actually going to
right?
happen? You know, I Division Two is not going to want to be in there because a school already bid for it. So that I can't see them
Right.
foregoing that to be in the Sullivan. You know, so there's
No,
just all these moving parts with some of this
a
stuff.
lot of
So
stuff.
I think April will be interesting.
It will be. We'll have our thumb on the pulse of that.
Yeah,
If and when some breaking news happens, we will have an emergency pod.
emergency
Or
pod. You know what we
depending
did
on
not
whether.
have this year, which I was very happy about, and I just got a text during the show that it happened somewhere else. And I'm so thankful that it didn't happen in Alaska again. I'm sad that
What?
it happened somewhere else. But remember a few years ago when we had the halftime shootout for the car and
Oh
the
my God.
person blew out his ACL on the last thing and it looked like he was going to make all the shots, but he ended up going up to
Yes.
get and he
Yeah.
blew out his ACL and there's 6,000 people or 5,000 people there and they're all cheering and then all of a sudden the place just goes dead quiet.
Oh.
Just dead quiet. Never
Oh,
you could hear a pin drop.
it wasn't an AC. It was a Achilles.
Achilles.
It
Yeah.
was Achilles.
It,
Yeah.
it
I
blew it
remember
out.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
blew it out. And then the very next halftime, the Kahoot game that GCI was doing just didn't work. And there's a problem with the connection. So that is just a disaster. Anyway, just got a text from our halftime guy at March Madness, Caleb,
Oh, Caleb.
the guy who shoots the t-shirts that everybody loves or hates if they don't get a shirt. I guess an Atlanta Hawks fan just tore his ACL during a halftime layup contest.
Oh my gosh.
I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm kind of happy that it wasn't just Alaska.
No.
I mean, that's
It's
just,
you know
I feel
what? You
really
start think
bad, but
people are gonna have to start signing like liability waivers,
oh,
like to
oh,
take
yeah.
part in these halftime shows or something.
It's just
Like,
like, oh no.
yeah, like oh
Oh
my gosh,
no.
poor guy. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's funny, but not funny.
It,
But
yeah. I'll never
that's
forget that. I'll never forget that for the
no,
rest of my life.
no,
Like,
no, not at
wow,
all.
just
That's
okay.
speaking
That's
of Caleb, he's
not
the
so good.
soccer coach at West Anchorage, so I'm
He
sure
is.
we'll have a quick interview with him. We had him on the show last year talking
Yeah.
about high school soccer, so we'll
I'm sure we can
have
get
him
him on.
on.
Sure we can
Oh,
get him
totally.
on. Yeah,
We can
I'm
probably
sure
call him
we
up right now,
yeah.
and
Well,
he would
probably
join.
might have to be getting the
Uh,
kids to bed, but
Yeah, that's true.
he
Yeah,
might try and skip
whatever.
that out.
Yeah, he might. Honey, I got a podcast.
Honey, I gotta go.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So a lot of stuff still happening in high school sports. Obviously, we're transitioning seasons, so we're getting into the spring sports, like we mentioned, soccer, softball, baseball, track and field, all coming up. Just kind of putting a bow on the basketball season, college basketball, UAA women. Just because we didn't make mention of it over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, they did make the NCAA West Region tournament. They played an opening round game against a conference opponent, Montana State Billings. They ended up winning that one 69-66. Hard fought game. Uh, Brief mention. Here's my opinion on the NCAA scheduling a conference opponent in the opening round of an NCAA national tournament.
Yeah, national
Right?
tournament.
Don't do it. How? If two conference opponents play later on in the tournament, fine. You cannot schedule conference tournaments or conference opponents in the first round. You can't do that. You
Just
can't.
you really can't. Not for a national thing like that. That just
Here,
I mean it's
UAA
you just can't do it.
Seawolves win the regular season title. Seawolves win the conference tournament. Awesome. All right. Okay. They might, in my opinion, they got screwed on seeding too, by the way.
They
They
did.
were the 4 seed. All
Yeah.
right. There were never in the history of the West Region tournament, or even at any of the regions, has anybody won the regular season title, won the conference tournament, and then been anything lower than a 3, right? So they got poo-pooed on there, in my opinion. And then not only did you win your conference title and conference tournament title, you then get to play a conference opponent. And like that's not a reward. Like that's dumb. That just absolutely makes zero sense, in my opinion. Right? If
Yep.
you want to schedule two, I mean, so the GNAC got 3 teams in this year. All right. Western Washington was the 6th seed. Okay. Uh, Fine. Have Western Washington and or not Western Washington, Central Washington and Montana State Billings play. All right.
Yeah.
Don't reward. I mean, you're not rewarding a team that won the conference, outright, and then the conference tournament. That just seems dumb to me. And I think the whole region thing at Division II has got to go away anyway. I think that whole process is wonky. We're trying to save schools money and things like. Get out of here. You're not saving anybody money. I mean, you're not gonna have to fly to the East Coast to start. Alaska's not have to go all the way to Florida or whatever. I'm like, dude, you're telling me that like they would find a way.
They
Anyway,
they
it's
would
just
they would make it happen.
whatever. I think it's dumb.
The only change in cost is the actual flight.
Yeah,
It's the hotels,
like
it's every rentals, all
I
that stuff
just
is the exact same.
I feel like the NCAA gives the gives the shaft to Division II and Division III. Like, and it's a completely different run tournament. Like if you dive into the from the D1 tournaments for men's and women's basketball to D2 and D3 tournaments for men's and women's basketball, they are ran completely different. Completely. And it's asinine to me.
We need to get you
Kind
on
of
a
like
need to get you on a committee for this.
no, that's the thing we need less of. No more committees. No more committees. Somehow we do it without a committee.
Oh,
You
really?
can do it without a committee.
Oh,
Like
I've
I don't know how you do it, but this is where things have gone so screwed up is committees. You want to solve a problem? Let's have ourselves a committee. Let's get more people to have more voices and
Preach
voice
it.
their opinions.
Preach it.
I'm like, get
Yeah.
out of here with freaking committees. Like,
I agree with you. That's why I've
I
pushed
mean,
so hard. We do
look
not
at
want a committee seeding the state tournament. That is not going to work. Bad idea.
look at college football. How is the top 12 teams determined? Let's have a committee. They sit in a freaking room and they watch football, right? And okay, here's our 12 teams, Get out of here. And then they have to seed them differently because, oh, wait, this team won their conference, but this team didn't. But Alabama's better than Boise State because, it's Alabama and like, whatever. I don't know. Like, it's just dumb. Dumb. Anyway, that's my rant.
I think
But
in good news, I think the college football one will be redone this year.
It has to
But
be. You can't do it the way they seeded things. It has to be,
I think that one will be a little different. I don't think we'll have 14 teams. It'll probably still be 12, but I think it will be
which is
reseeded a
fine.
little.
Yeah, the way that they had it seated, like you could be
Yeah.
ranked. They rank them 1 through 12, but then the seeding is completely different because the SEC champion, the Big 12 champion, the ACC champ, and the top Big Four get their
Yep.
whatever, and like it's dumb. The whole thing was asinine. But anyway, back to UA women's basketball. Yes, they got past their first round opponent. They played the number 4 seed Cal State Dominguez Hills. Um, uh, or actually, sorry, the number 4 team in the nation, not the number 4 seed. Cal State Dominguez Hills was the number 1 seed overall in the West Region tournament. They lost to Cal State Dominguez Hills 63-61. Seawolves dug themselves an early hole in that game. I think they were down 23-14 at the end of the first quarter. Tried to claw their way back, kind of found their footing a little bit in the third quarter. Actually, briefly took a lead briefly in the third, but then fourth quarter, Cal State Dominguez Hills able to pull away and pull out a 2-point victory, 63-61. So the Seawolves run ends in the second round of the West Region tournament. But another fantastic year for Ryan McCarthy and the Seawolves. Amelia Long and Tori Hollingshead, all GNAC, all American honorees as well. So fantastic year for the Lady Seawolves as they look to reload and regroup and get ready for another season, as do the men's basketball team at UAA as well. Saw a lot of the men's basketball team at the state tournament, by the way. So
Yep.
they are very focused here in the off season, it seems like, and they want to obviously right the wrongs that were done this year in terms of win-loss record for the men's basketball program. So it'll be interesting off season to say the least from both the men's and women's basketball team. So we'll keep an eye on college basketball as well. So that kind of puts a bow on the basketball season, at least in terms of here in the state of Alaska. Briefly mention the Anchorage Wolverines. They have clinched a playoff berth
Yep.
already. I think they did that a couple of weeks ago. The regular season is wrapping up this weekend and the following weekend as well, as they will wrap up. They'll start this Friday on the road down in Kenai. They'll come back for 3 consecutive home games.
Yep.
So they'll have a home game on the 5th and a home game on the 11th and 12th to wrap up the regular season before they find out what's going to happen in the playoffs and who their opponent is going to be. Right now in the Midwest Division, the Wolverines sitting behind the Wisconsin Wendigo,
Windigo.
our favorite mascot. So Wolverines with 72 total points so far on the season. Wendigo with 80 total points. The Fairbanks Ice Dogs right now, right behind the Wolverines. They also have 72 points, so things could juggle in terms of the top 3 seedings, at least from 2 and 3. The Ice Dogs, I believe, also locking up a playoff spot
Yep.
as well. So out of the Midwest Division, anyway, Wisconsin, Anchorage, and Fairbanks, the 3 representatives coming out of the Midwest. So we'll see what happens here in the final couple of weeks if the Wolverines and Ice Dogs end up flopping spots in terms of 2 and 3. But we'll keep our eye and thumb down on the Wolverines beat as well. Maybe we'll try to have head coach Nick Walters perhaps join us as they get ready for the playoffs like he did last year. Always a pleasure to have him on the show and kind of discuss some hockey and going into the
Yeah.
playoffs and get their feel on how this season's going. To be interesting to hear how his feelings about the Sullivan Arena. I know last year when we talked, he was kind of, nonchalant about it. I'd be curious to see now after, filling that arena, like, I don't know, how
They've
many
been
fans they have that one game?
a
5,000
little over 5,000.
something? Yeah.
Yeah. That
So,
against the March 1st, they had 5,069. I believe the Anchorage Wolverines, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure, just looking at the numbers from what I've seen already, they have the by far the highest attendance
have to.
in the league.
Oh, they
For
have to.
for Central, East, South,
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, So
Well,
yeah, it's
I
big.
would say the Wolverines play in one of the largest ice arenas in terms of junior hockey in the nation. I mean,
Oh
just in
yeah,
terms of seating capacity.
absolutely.
I mean, I feel like a lot of the ice rinks that the Wolverines travel to probably don't hold more than 2,000 to 3,000 fans, maybe,
Um, I know
if that.
Kenai might be able to hold 2,000 if you pull out those bleachers on the other. I mean, they might
Yeah,
be able to hold 2,000, maybe
right.
2,500, but nothing like the Sullivan. No, and
No.
I'm pretty sure if I've heard right that that's the case around the rest of the division as well, or
Yeah.
league.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. All right. Well, there's a lot that has happened in the last couple of weeks, but we're glad to have been back here and kind of get you caught up in things that are going on in the sports scene here in Alaska. Did we miss anything, Isaiah?
Well, I think we need to talk.
Oh,
Just we need to mention a couple things.
you're right.
Alaska Sports
Yeah.
Report. Van Williams has a nice article on the all-state teams and stuff like that, which ASAA doesn't have anything to do with. Those are voted on with the Alaska Association of Basketball Coaches and media and other things like that. I know their all-star game for them is not this weekend, but next weekend. I think the 10th and 11th. But Brooklyn Haywood, some people might know that name. She's coming up. She's going to be playing against, I believe it's West and Bartlett, the beginning of the season next year. She used to live here in Anchorage, and she is averaging 31 points a game in Washington. She's a union guard um, for in the Evergreen School District in Washington. Let me see. I guess she's highly ranked.
I
She's
think she's
oh
like the
yeah,
24th
she's a
ranked or
newly
something.
minted 2,000 point scorer, ranked 24th nationally by ESPN
Yeah.
for the class of 2026 and number 2 in the state of Washington. Currently, she is holding offers from Division 1 Stanford, North Carolina, Harvard, Arkansas, and Arizona, along with some others. So she's coming up here for a couple games in December. So that'll be kind of cool. Again, she used to live up here, and I believe she left in junior high, right before high school, or just before junior high.
Yeah.
But she knows a lot of the players during and in this area, so that'll be interesting. But then also, I sent you a text about this because I saw it pop up on ESPN. But somebody that we watched and were really impressed with, we're going to keep our eye on, won a dunk competition
Today.
today. Yes, a foo won the
Dude,
dunk competition for the McDonald's All American. I mean, he's just incredible.
he is incredible. I
He is
mean,
incredible.
the guy's ranked 15th in the ESPN 100. He's committed to Baylor. The dude was, uh,
He was just
I
different.
don't,
I mean,
there's
we were
well,
talking about
different.
Sophie being different,
Different
and
doesn't even describe him.
he's just
Like,
different. I mean, he's different from any other person I've seen different that
like
played
that.
basketball up here. He's incredible.
I don't know how you can explain that. Like
I don't know.
the athleticism that dude. Like I watched the guy take 3 steps from half court and
I,
leave the floor and dunk.
yeah,
Like,
you just
like
kind of
that was
go,
just like, yeah, okay,
wow. I mean, I don't know
yeah.
what else. I don't know what else you
No,
say.
he was a man amongst boys at the
He
high
really
school level
was.
when he came up here and played.
And that wasn't this year. That was the last year. That was in 2023.
Yeah, as a junior,
As a
right?
junior. I mean,
Yeah,
just
he
unreal.
played in this tournament 2 years, like at the Alaska Airlines Classic for 2 years.
Yeah. He's
So yeah, I mean, he played in what was it? It was last year's tournament, so 2024, and then he played.
oh, he was in yeah, last year,
Yeah,
2024 and then
right.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's on from St. Joseph High School. But yeah, when he came up here, like he was just like you knew this guy was going to go play big time college basketball. I mean, he had offers from Baylor, Kansas, Kentucky, UConn, USC, right?
He could
They
pick
all
where
offered him.
he could pick where he wanted to
Yeah,
go. I mean, he really
right.
just could.
Yeah.
Where do you
I
want to
mean,
go? Well, I want to go over here. Okay.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean, he's the third best player in the nation at his position, third best player in the state of California. I mean, the guy's just he gets a 92 out of 100 in terms of his scouting grade. So just yeah. So it was cool to see. So I mean, he has no real tie to Alaska, obviously, other than playing
No,
in the Alaska Airlines Classic for those couple of seasons, which is just cool. We don't get to see those types of athletes. It would have been awesome to see, you know, Trajan Langdon's kid
it would have
come up
been. Yeah.
if they didn't end up having to, back out of the tournament and things like that. That would have been really neat to see. Because I guarantee you, he probably would have tried to come up and make like a surprise appearance. That would have been
Oh, that would have been
neat.
cool.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so
He could pull
yeah,
himself away from Detroit for just a little while.
yeah,
Well,
he
maybe
could.
not right now after the brawl. There's probably going to
No,
be
that's
some
true.
fallout after that.
Didn't he just get a new job though? Didn't I think?
Well,
Hold on.
I'm pretty sure he's the GM of Detroit.
Is that what it is
I
now?
think, yeah,
Okay. Well, I thought,
he was down in New Orleans, and that's where his kid
yeah.
was playing, and that's when they were going to come up. And then in the off season, I think he took the GM role at Detroit.
Hold on. I thought I saw
And if there's something new, then yeah, that would definitely be something I didn't know. I thought it was the
it.
GM of
Yeah,
Detroit Pistons.
he's the president of basketball
Oh,
operations.
president. Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
and so and this only happened like I don't know, a little over a month ago. Apparently, it seems like. So yeah, the Pistons cut ties with their GM, and I don't know if Trajan's now kind of like
He's probably
running
playing
those.
both. He's
Yeah.
probably running
So
both roles for a little while anyway.
yeah, but anyway, so
He's a busy
all
man.
right, he is. We all are. I mean,
Yeah. Maybe we
well,
can
we
get
try to
him on
be.
the podcast.
Maybe. Maybe we can get one of the billionaires. There's
Yeah.
3,028 of them out there that
Yeah.
can come on the podcast. So,
I'll hit up
if you want to,
I'll hit up Elon.
that's the only one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I didn't even read the list. Like, but Bezos, it's got to be up there. Jeff
The
Bezos.
Walmart family.
Yeah.
Anybody who's sold
Um,
an NFL team recently.
uh, who's the owner of the LA Clippers? Steve
Ballmer.
Ballmer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer. Okay, yeah. See, there's a few like those guys would be
We know those
willing.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, help us
Steve,
out.
Elon, let's go.
Like, look, you can put your name right here, right there
Right
on that
here.
painting. Yeah,
I will
goes
put a
here.
picture of you right
Yeah,
here.
flashing lights. Like, psh, psh.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for tuning into this edition of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Next week, we'll dive a little bit further into some of the spring sports and things of that nature that are coming up as we get
Yep.
ready for all the spring sports. Spring sports are going to start on time this year,
They're
guys. No
they're
snow to deal with.
they're actually going to be playing outside a lot sooner than the last 2 years. That's for sure.
Yes, they are. So we'll be talking about all the spring sports coming up in terms of high school and keeping our pulse on the thumb, or thumb on the pulse, I should
There we
say.
go. Thumb on the
Uh,
pulse. Pulse on the thumb. Pulse on the thumb.
something like that. I don't know. Like,
That's time to end the show. Pulse
it's
on
time.
thumbs.
It's time. It's time. It's time. Thumb on the pulse of playoff hockey as far as the Anchorage Wolverines are going as well. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. For Isaiah Freeman, I'm Keaton Homer signing off. We'll talk to you next week.